Before we begin our meeting, we would like to acknowledge that Styriac is in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Thursday, February 13th at 7 p.m. Please note we have everybody in attendance this evening. Are there any changes to the agenda? Councilor Hurstborn?
Would be 9E, and it's a planning advisory committee update, which has been circulated to everyone as well.
Any other changes?
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as amended for our committee of the whole session for Thursday, February the 13th, 2025.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any disclosure of interest on agenda items? Hearing none, we have no minutes for approval.
Yes. We have committee of the whole.
Yes, we do. We have the committee of the whole minutes from Thursday, January 9th. Any changes?
I have two changes actually. Number 3, the approval. The motion was moved by myself, but it was seconded by Mayor Doug Lasser. And the other change that I have is in 9A, the last part of the motion that starts with that the rotation, that was not part of the motion that I made. So that should be deleted from the minutes.
You know that on the changes.
Any other changes? Motion to approve.
Don't think
Oh,
you
no.
need to.
But actually, just to note for council, I've made a change to the title on the agenda to be review of minutes. And I'll make that change going forward because it did say approval. We made note that we actually don't approve the minutes. So we'll just title it review of minutes for future.
I think we approved them. We just don't need a motion to approve them is what the training told us.
Okay, so you want to title as this approval of? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have no announcements or proclamations. We have 2 presentations this evening. The first one being from Ms. Vanitha Nair, health promoter from Healthy Communities. And just a reminder that we asked to keep it at about 10 minutes, followed by a short question and answer period after.
Okay. Do I just share the screen or?
Yes, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, 1 second. Sorry, just trying to figure this out. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Good evening, everyone. We just want to take a moment to thank the Council for this opportunity to share a little bit about what we do in public health. My name is Vanitha Nair, and my colleague here is Lindsay Robertson, who's the nutritionist for the Colchester region, and my other colleague is Leah Cat Sheikh. Leah Cat and I are the health promoters for the Colchester region. So for public health, our work is guided by public health standards and protocols. Public health standards outline the expectations for the public health system in Nova Scotia and guide our work. And the public health protocols articulates the work that needs to be done in order to meet these standards. While our team has grown substantially over the last 3 years, about 1/3 more staff today than in 2020, our focus and core areas remain the same. And this includes the three ones that you're seeing on the screen, which is health protection, early years, and healthy communities. Health protection deals with communicable disease prevention and control and immunization. Early years, they have programs that support for prenatal, postnatal, and early childhood. And healthy communities is a team that we are part of. And today we'll be diving deeper into what we do. So for the Healthy Communities team, it's a team of public health professionals that focus on building and understanding and promoting strategies that support the health and wellness of Nova Scotians. We work with multiple groups and sectors, including community organizations, municipalities, education, mental health and addictions, and community health boards. In the Northern Zone, our team covers 4 network areas, and this includes East Hants, Colchester, Pictou County, and Cumberland. Today, we will focus on sharing more of the work of the health promoters and nutritionists as we work closely with the municipal units to understand the health of our communities and how we can act together to improve health. So let's take a look at this picture. What we do is an upstream approach. So looking at the picture, let's focus on the river. Let's pretend that you have a bystander who notices someone struggling in the river current. So the bystander helps the person out. Then soon after, another person is pulled out of the current, and another. Soon, a group gathers to help. One person, exhausted, decides to walk upstream and investigate why so many people have fallen into the river. This story shows we need to think about health in an upstream approach. While we need to address immediate health needs, we also need to direct our energy at the other end, which is preventing the fall with upstream approaches. Let's take food insecurity as an example. People struggling to keep their head above water and put food on the table, they approach food banks for supporting their families and individuals within the Colchester area. This is an immediate need, as people are unable to access nutritious and culturally appropriate food in a dignified way. If we move that upstream, we see how food insecurity has an income issue. When it comes to keeping a roof over their heads, people have to choose between paying their rent over obtaining food that they require for their health and well-being. This is why the need for affordable housing is also important. So public health focuses our efforts on supporting income policies that provide adequate incomes so everyone is able to take care of themselves and their families. It is social safety net with an emphasis on equity. I'll pass the presentation on to my colleague, Lindsay.
Thanks, Vanitha. Would it be okay if you just kept the presentation on, and I can just let you know when to advance the slides?
Yeah, that works.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks. So good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for having us here. As Vanitha mentioned, my name is Lindsay Robertson, and I'm a nutritionist for the Colchester and East Hants areas of our zone. So just to go over briefly our activities for our team. So our team really aims to work collaboratively with partners in our community, looking to improve population health and advance health equity. And we really believe that health starts long before illness and is heavily influenced by where we live, learn, work, age, and play. Hence why we think it's so valuable to speak with you folks tonight. So some key activities that we do to advance healthy public policy and programs is, so we use advocacy and a health promotion lens to advocate for policy change that affects community health. A really central part of our work is relationship building. So that involves collaborating with local partners such as community organizations, municipalities like yourselves, First Nation communities, and schools. And we aim to bring voices together to understand what change in policy is best for community and to ensure equity and diversity is represented at the table. We also use monitoring to track factors such as housing, poverty, food insecurity, and substance use rates to assess the health of the community. And then we use knowledge translation. So this looks like sharing evidence-based best practice and making health information accessible and relatable for various audiences. And then health equity, we really see as a foundational piece to our work. So we work to identify and address racism and discrimination that has historically been built into policies and programs, with the hopes of reducing health inequities. Next slide, please, Vanita. So our team works on a wide range of health topics related to the social determinants of health. And on this slide, we have a few examples of the specific topic areas and then some recent projects that have taken place in the Northern Zone. So in the area of active communities, our health promoters have been able to support the town of Oxford, Amherst, Cumberland County, and Pictou County with the development of their physical activity strategy, providing engagement support, content input, and an equity lens. Examining food insecurity as it relates to income, our team recently helped plan a conversation in Truro on a basic income guarantee with Senator Wanda Thomas Bernard. And the panel really aimed to center lived expertise and Black and Indigenous voices to discuss solutions to address poverty. For healthy built environments, as Vanita mentioned, we do have a healthy built environment coordinator who also sits on our team. So with their support, we were able to provide feedback on the Planet Colchester municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. And recently in public health, we've developed a framework to guide how public health shows up in climate-related action. So looking at adaptation and mitigation strategies. And we're now at the point with that framework where we're looking to work with partners to implement it. And then in transportation and looking at public transportation in response to the Mass Casualty Commission report, public health stood up a free service in the Northern Zone for non-urgent transportation as a part of a pilot project to help residents access healthcare and wellness appointments. And the highlight that's really come through on that project and that service is the need for public transportation in rural areas for people to access the necessary health and wellness appointments. Next slide, please, Vanita. So next I'd like to highlight a resource that we were planning to have in a printed package when we attended your meeting this evening, but we did ask Mark to email it. So hoping that you were able to receive that, and if not, we can share it after. So what we shared with you is one of our 5 community health planning documents that have been recently developed. So this one in particular is housing and health. We also have 4 others, as I mentioned. So the other ones, the other resources focus on income, food insecurity, active communities, and social connection. And in the interest of time tonight, I'm not going to review the resource in detail, but if anyone is interested in discussing those further, either myself, Vanita, or Leah Kat would be happy to review the housing or any of the other resources in more detail. So each resource includes background information, key messages, data specific to Northern Zone and Colchester in particular, evidence and community considerations. And when these were developed, they were developed with a population health and health equity lens, with the purpose of sharing evidence and data that would move understanding from an individual to a collective and give attention to the systemic and structural root causes of those particular topics, and then support evidence with upstream community-based action. So as I mentioned, if council's interested, we would be happy to share the other resources electronically or discuss any of those further. Thanks, Vanita. So I hope tonight, I mean, I know we don't have a lot of time this evening, but hoping that it's become somewhat clearer through this presentation that we do have some intersecting priorities. As I mentioned, we really feel that health starts long before the presence of disease or a trip to the doctor. We know that 16% of residents in Colchester County live in low-income households based on the low-income measure after tax. And what this picture or image really tries to depict is that income and poverty play a crucial role in determining the living conditions and affecting people's access to essential services, opportunities, resources, and the care necessary for preventing health conditions. Additionally, we know poverty influences experience with other health determinants such as social connections, housing stability, food security, education, and early childhood development. And ultimately, it limits people's ability to reach their full potential and contribute to their community. And I just want to, recognize that municipalities are the closest to the people that they serve. You and your staff, council and staff, witness firsthand the effects and related social problems that impact community health and safety and prosperity ultimately. So these are complex and interconnected issues that really require multifaceted solutions. And that's one of the reasons why we're coming to you. We're keen to establish additional ways to collaborate with your team on policies and initiatives to help support a resilient and healthy Stewiacke, and hope that we can kind of move forward with the relationship there. Next slide, please. So just wanted to say thank you for your time and attention tonight, and we hope that you'll reach out in the near future and look forward to determining how we can go further together. And if you do have any questions, we'd like to welcome any questions you may have now.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions? No questions for this evening. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second presentation for this evening, comes from Richard Innes from Bryan Trust. I see Richard is online with us. Hi, Richard. Just as a reminder, we like to keep presentations at around the 10-minute mark, followed by a question and answer period from the table.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I need permission to share my screen. Oh, there we go.
Sure. No.
Great. Can you see that?
Nothing yet.
No.
Yes, yeah.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
Not on our end yet, Richard.
I have it here.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. There's a bit of a lapse. That's the distance between Mississauga and Stewiacke, I guess. So, well, thanks very much for the time this evening. It's my pleasure to present at a very high level, Mayor and Council, the work that's been taking place over the last year. It's our strategic tourism expansion program for the region. And so I will give you a very high level overview of our work and some of the outcomes and the recommendations. Starting with the planning context, we approach this through an asset-based community tourism development process. That's where we begin to focus on what we have versus the things that we think we need in order to be a successful tourism destination. We need to identify what enhances our competitiveness to attract visitors from away. It's great that we have a great market within the province, but the goal here is to develop our communities and our destination to attract visitors from outside of the province. We took an approach that really engaged not just the tourism sector and operators within that sector, but citizens. It's important as we develop our destination to involve citizens in that process, because we believe that a great place to live is a great place to visit. And so hand in hand with what residents require in order to enhance their lifestyle, those kind of things, also complement what the visitor is looking for. There are a number of high-level outcomes that came together through our work, that we wanted to come together through our work. It was a sense of collaboration. We required a unified development approach, getting everybody engaged in that process. Identifying a series of recommendations, specific tactics or actions responsibilities, who's going to do the implementation, and when does it all need to happen. We focused on a bias for action. This is a 3-year plan. We provided a roadmap for you to proceed in order to enhance your competitiveness and your appeal. The other requirement was we needed to identify a leadership model. Who is going to implement the plan that we came forward with? This was very much a collaborative process. We had a very active working group that provided advice and counsel along the way. And then we held a number of community consultation sessions throughout the region involving both citizens, business owners, community leaders, and others. Our findings and observations, again, at a very high level. I need to tell you that this is a region that's starting from a position of strength. I've got the opportunity to do similar work in large and small communities right across the country. And I can tell you that both the built and natural assets in your region really put you in a good position. Since the post-pandemic, the tourism sector globally has adopted a real different approach to developing tourism. It's come in light of the fact that before the pandemic, there were a lot of destinations experiencing over-tourism. But we adopted a regenerative tourism approach that was embraced through all of our consultations, recognizing that regenerative tourism is a force for good. In order to take advantage of some of those built natural assets, it really comes down to delivering exceptional or legendary experiences, and we need to make sure we have those. You have a tourism market levy in place. A lot of communities I work in don't have sustainable funding. The levy provides you with sustainable funding going forward. The UNESCO Cliffs of Fundy Global Geopark is a definite asset and something that we really need to fully leverage. As I mentioned, there's no leadership model currently. The municipalities have stepped forward to lead this development process, but are not prepared to go forward with the implementation. So part of our goal was to identify what that might look like. As part of our discovery, we identified some themes and narratives. These are things that set you apart, that differentiate you from other communities within Nova Scotia, in Atlantic Canada, and in Canada for that matter. They're supported by visitor touch points, things that visitors can experience along their journey, and that really sets you apart, makes you unique and different. And we identified 4 things: your vibrant towns, villages, and First Nation, coastal and rural landscapes, 4-season outdoor recreation opportunities, and your meetings, conferences, or business events, and major festivals and events that take place. Those were 4 themes that resonated through our discovery. Now, let me take you at a very, again, high level through the recommendations, and I know you've got the draft report and the details of these recommendations are in there. First of all, we need to operationalize our implementation, and that's going to happen through a leadership model. We're recommending at this stage the development of a regional tourism development society supported by a staff person and a manager of tourism development. And again, supported by existing organizations and others that are already in the region, already delivering on a number of things in their own way that need to happen in order to be a successful tourism destination. So a lot of detail of that included in the report. Recognizing that the tourism levy funds that are being generated will fuel the development process. It's those funds that will be used exclusively to help deliver the implementation of the recommendation. We need to rally folks around the process of developing the community, developing the destination, and therefore a communication plan is required. The goal was to really impact tourism visitation and revenue and economic impact as soon as possible. And so growing overnight visits year-round in the communities is a priority, and strategies have been identified to do that. I mentioned the value that you have in the Cliffs of Fundy Global Geopark. We need to better leverage that asset. There are people who travel the globe to visit global geoparks. You have one in your backyard. We need to make sure that it's really at its best and operating efficiently and providing guests with memorable experiences. Speaking of experiences, we need to enhance the things that are currently being offered. We need to engage with residents and others who have some specific expertise or passion that they would like to share with visitors. That's what the guest is looking for. And so that's an important part of our plan. Business events or meetings and conferences, we really have an opportunity to grow that segment of our market because we have the infrastructure. We have hotels and meeting spaces. And so we want to focus on the need periods, that November to May period when we need the business. It's not summer and visitors aren't there, but business travel, conferences take place. We need to leverage that. Similarly, we want to develop promotion and sales activity to attract more major events to the region. It has delivered economic impact already, witnessed by the most recent stampede that was held. Speaking of year-long visitation, we need to leverage an event that has really been synonymous with winter in this part of the province, the Long John event. We believe that there's an opportunity to expand that to a month-long winter celebration, utilizing both indoor and outdoor attractions, venues, and activities in the month of February. And we're targeting to do that in February 2026. I talked about the importance of attracting visitors from away, outside the province. That means that we have to have a very robust digital or online presence. When customers are planning their trip to Nova Scotia, we want to be sure that we're not just a drive-by destination, that they understand what all of the great things that there are to see and do and experience. And therefore, we need to enhance our online presence, both at the community, but also at the operator level. The importance of regenerative tourism was embraced, and therefore every aspect of our development will embrace regenerative tourism practices. There are a number of service and infrastructure gaps that also need to be addressed. And over the 3-year period, steps must be taken to address some of those identified gaps. So that's what I have my presentation for you this evening. It is a lot of information within the report, a year-long work of activity, but your time is tight, so that's what I have for you. I'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for the presentation, Richard. Do we have any questions? Councillor Russell?
And our staff, Aaron, might be able to answer this as well, but you talked about a regional tourism development society. Is that similar to what used to be the regional economic networks that used to exist?
Yes, that's the model. I was, it was, this was a task that quite frankly kept me up at night. What would it be? When I learned about that particular model and the success you had with that model, it became apparent to me that that was one that we should pursue. And so staff has done work to look at the legalities of that. I've seen it work in other communities across the country, and that's why that recommendation, the model at this point is coming forward. I also say in my report, this may not be a forever model, but I believed it was important for you to get out of the gate quickly. And so to mobilize the funds that are available, the passion and the momentum that we have in the strategy, this route seemed to be able to address that, certainly for the next 18 to 24 months.
Any other questions? Okay, Thank you for your time, Richard.
Thank you very much.
We have no written petitions and correspondence this evening, so moving on to nine business. 9A is the CAO report.
Thank you very much. Just a few updates for council and the community. Public Works report, just noting that, again, we're into some bad weather this evening and we're expecting more snow on Sunday. So just a reminder to the public that staff are busy working on winter road maintenance. Just as a reminder to help our staff and our crews by keeping the roads clear of parked cars in the streets, block access to snow removing equipment. If any residents have any questions or concerns about winter road maintenance, just to call the town office or to email us at town@stubiac.net. Right now, we're in the thick of preparing the 2025-26 budget. For council's information for the public, we mentioned at the last meeting that we're working on the draft budget, but we're also working on 2 presentations for the public. We're working on making sure that the public has an opportunity as its council to review the draft budget, have opportunity to ask questions and get more information. Presentation number 1 we're looking at right now is Saturday, March the 1st from 10 a.m. until noon at the Stubiac Community Center. Presentation number 2 is on Wednesday, March the 5th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Stubiac Community Center. Prior to that, council will have a draft budget in their hands and opportunity from staff to present to them. And then the process will continue and coming back to council for question review, revisions and adoption, hopefully in end of March or in April, depending on how the process goes. Community development, I am joined tonight by Erin Richard, our Director of Community Development, who's got a couple of reports after me. These updates come from her and her team. We're doing some great work in the community. Community use of schools funding for 24-25 for the after school program was approved in the amount of $4,000. The town also received $4,000 through the regional application for community use in schools funding in 2024-25 for Colchester, Truro, East Hants, and Bible Hill to run recreational programming during the after school time period. Staff are in the process of applying for funding, $250 for the Shubenacadie Stubiac Lions Den to support a sandbox at the community center. Staff are working on a pancake community supper, March the 4th, 2025. More details pending. I believe that was the second time we've done this. First time was last year. March break programming is open for registration. The numbers are at capacity right now on 2 of the 5 days, so there are some spots available. And there have been some questions about the food bank and how much use it is receiving from residents in Stubiac proper. We got some stats from the food bank that 41 families, which is a total of 134 people, are being served by the food bank. The clients can access the food bank once every 4 weeks. So showing the great work the food bank's doing to support our residents. Fire updates, there are no updates from fire at this time, other than on February the 27th, the volunteer fire crew, the chief and 2 deputy chiefs will be here to do an update and presentation to council on the future plans. And at this time, there are no updates from the RCMP. We were joined by Mark Rose, attachment commander from RCMP at the last meeting, and he answered some questions for council. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
The rest one?
I have a few, actually. The 2 dates that you talk about, I know I'm not available the morning of March 1st. So I'm wondering, is there any room to actually negotiate in either one of these dates? And then I've got 2 or 3 questions, so I'll just continue on. You can answer them all at the same time if you want. Then the March break funding, the March break programming, was that open to residents first? That's my next question. And then the third question that I have is regarding the RCMP. Do we have a date for a community meeting for Stubiac? Those are my 3 questions.
So I can answer 2 of the 3, and I'll ask Erin to answer 1. We do not have a date for the RCMP meeting yet. I will get back to council on that. Number two, there is room to look at the presentation dates. However, I would say to all council members, you do not need to be at both presentations. We can record them. We can make them available to council members. And it will be an opportunity for council to listen, to see the concerns from the public, get the information back into the process. So we can have conversations about date changes if needed. However, it has been difficult to find appropriate dates at this time to get the process moving along with all the other committee meetings and council meetings we have along the way. So I'm hoping that we can stick to the dates that we've put on the calendar, but happy to move them if we need to.
But we can record them then?
Yes, we
Okay,
can. I think for a meeting like this, we have Wi-Fi access at the community center. We can make the opportunity to be virtual recorded and have it available.
Perfect.
And I'll pass it to Erin. She had a question about the registration.
Yeah, if it was open for residents first.
It wasn't advertised that way, but we do have a Sport Hub wait list for 10 kids on top of our registration cap. So Ben and I have been monitoring every day on who's on the wait list for the 2 days that are full. None are residents at this time. So we aren't taking in people from outside of the town over anyone that's in the town.
Okay, I thought we had asked for any programming to be open to the town residents first.
We did discuss day camps,
Okay.
so we can do that practice moving forward for everything.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So how would we, Councillor Rogers on, so how do we, if it's only gonna be open for the people in town of Stewiacke, where do we make that acknowledgement in our minutes and so forth?
Well, staff can take the comment back. We can look at the processes that we have in place now. We can look at the Sport Hub program and see what applications are available in it to limit it to residents only, and we can report back on how we can handle it.
All I'm asking is for a sense of fairness, that people in the town know that the program's here for them. And that if there's any slots, then anybody who doesn't live in the town, then they can come and avail themselves of it. That's my point, that's all I make, sort of a sense of fairness.
Moving on to 9B, which is the STEP program. I believe Erin, you're gonna discuss that.
Yes, so Richard just did a very high level presentation. The report's about 40 pages long. There's lots of recommendations and initiatives within that. So the recommendation tonight from staff is that we receive the report and potentially adopt the report at the council meeting. So this report is what's gonna guide tourism for the next 3 years, as Richard mentioned. We started our marketing levy, so we've generated around $680,000 through that for our region, which will fund all the work for this program. So hiring that staff lead that Richard had mentioned, that would come from that, the website that everyone will be, so the industry partners, so Airbnbs, hotels, they'll use one reporting website that will be funded through the marketing levy. So all of the work for industry partners will be through one, like, you can go to one website, find all the information. If you're a visitor, you can come to that website, get all your information on where you can stay. So this report will also guide the governance model. So the executive directors will be the municipalities, just because there's financial commitment, because we manage the marketing levy funds. So we'll oversee that, and then we'll have a society develop that Richard spoke about.
Do you have any questions for her? That's what I was
You talk about the $680,000 from what, what time period is that?
So that's for 3 quarters. So we still have another
Okay.
quarter.
Okay.
So we started around, I think it was in June-ish we started, but it was troubling trying to get everybody logged in and registered. Because a lot of people, especially rural communities who aren't generating a lot of funds, kind of give a little pushback, but we do have someone hired to manage getting everybody organized, also through the funds through the levy. So pretty much I mean, the very last attachment to your package or this report shows the percentage of people signed on. So Stewiacke, we have one or two, we're working on getting the other one on there, we have identified another one.
Another,
Service provider, so Airbnb,
oh, okay,
short-term rentals.
okay.
So those are identified. So we might have more revenue come in once everybody's completely registered. Cause then it is legislated and they will be forced to register at some point soon.
So how many do we have right now? Cause I think there's a bunch that are probably unregistered.
Within the town.
Yeah,
We have identified 5 total, 2 for sure. The other ones we're struggling trying to connect with
okay,
to get them to follow through on the documentation.
okay. And so how do you enforce that? Cause.
So
Right.
Sherry, the lady that we've hired, so as soon as we send out a letter, the town does have some correspondence with Sherry. We send a letter, once we know that letter has been sent, or they come and pick it up, that's the date on their bill. If they don't make a payment for so many quarters, well, we know this is the date you received that letter. And we're gonna keep billing you. And it's legislated, so there's gonna be enforcement at some point about it.
So my last question is just about partnership.
Yes,
So it's Millbrook, Town of Truro, Colchester County and
Yes.
us.
yes.
So the levy amounts that are collected, that go into a pool,
Yes.
are they evenly distributed or is there a percentage per each
Not
municipality?
100% sure yet, because
Okay.
when we adopt this and then hire our lead on marketing and all of the projects within the recommendations, we will be involved, and the small $300 we're contributing, we're still going to see value in that. Because we're a voice at the table from all the levels, so the society will have somebody, will have someone at the municipal level. And there'll be representation, I'm not quite sure how it's gonna be split yet, but. The levy will also have application process open, so if there are some, so like the rec is a large organization.
Mm-hmm.
They probably won't apply for a massive amount of funding if we have leftover in the levy, but we'll give opportunity to a small organization like the North Shore. They have a little group that does tourism activity. They could then apply for funding through the levy to do something to benefit us. So if Stewiacke had a small organization that wanted to apply, maybe even Town Days,
Mm-hmm.
you could put an application in to generate some money to do your activities.
Okay, great, thanks, that's all I have.
Any other questions? So do we need a motion to recommend?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that we recommend to council that the strategic tourism expansion program report be received and that the committee of the whole recommended council to adopt the Truro Colchester County Strategic Tourism Expansion Program, otherwise known as STEP, as presented.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 9C is the custodial RFP. You're up for that as well.
Yeah, so that was posted and it closed on February 6th. The custodian cleans the town hall, the library and the community center on a 2-year contract. The current contract ends March 31st of this year. So we're ready to sign a new one April 1st until the 2027 March 31st. We received 5 bids on the work. One from Joan Crawford, 13,000, Red Panda Maintenance was 47,000, Atlantic Evershine 42,000, Night Vision Cleaning 52,000, and Crystal Clean Maintenance for 31, and that is all for the year. So the recommendation from staff tonight is to go with our current custodian, Joan Crawford, in the amount of 13,520 per year.
Any questions?
I'll make that motion that the custodian service report be received and that council award the custodian service contract to Joan Crawford in the amount of $13,520, including HST per year for a 2-year period of 2023 to 2025. Is that correct?
No.
That should be
25.
25 to 27, should it not be?
Correct.
Yes.
For a 2-year period from 2025 to 2027. And that council authorizes the CAO to execute a contract with Joan Crawford.
Second. Any discussion from the motion? All in favor?
Alright,
Opposed? Carried. 9D is March council meetings. That's in there.
Yes, just looking forward to March. March break is when the council meeting would lie. I made a recommendation to council that we just look at the dates for March. And also in regards to the budget, in order to get the draft budget in front of council prior to having our public consultations on March the 1st and the 5th. My recommendation was that to council that we start the council meeting on February 27th at 6 p.m. To give some time for council to review the draft budget with staff, answer some questions. We'll move right into council meeting, regular agenda right after that, which will give council the opportunity to review the budget, address staff, and move into public consultations. So the proposed changes are the council meeting on Thursday, February 27th will be changed to a start time of 6 p.m. And my recommendation to council would be that the committee of the whole and council meeting for March 2025 be combined and that the meeting be held on Thursday, March 20th, 2025 at 7 p.m. So that is before council for discussion.
Any questions? Comments? Motion on this?
I'll make that motion that the council meeting on Thursday, February the 27th be changed to a start time of 6 p.m. And that the committee of the whole and council meeting for the month of March 2025 be combined and be held on Thursday, March the 20th, 2025, beginning at 7 p.m.
So moved by Councillor Osborne.
Second.
Second by Councillor Luke. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. 9.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Later.
Good night, Aaron. Drive careful.
9E is the planning and advisory updates. Councillor Osborne?
So planning advisory committee met last night. We went over options to limit or restrict growth within the town of Stewiacke regarding the water. They've asked me to bring a recommendation to council to move forward with asking our new planner and development officer to draft some regulations for in regards to limiting and restricting growth due to the water situation. So I'm just gonna read, there is 3 options in the recommendation that the committee has asked me to bring. Those options that were discussed were controlled development in the water intensive use areas, use development charges, which I believe we've talked about at this table before, and limit development in unserviced areas. So what the committee has asked me to do is bring the recommendation here so that our planning staff can go back and draft regulations and bring it back to the committee and to council for consideration. Part of that framework would need a land use bylaw amendment, which would mean we would have to have a public participation meeting. I'll entertain questions before I put the motion on.
I have a couple.
Sure.
So before all of this can be in place, we have to have a public
Yes.
are we looking, the options that you have listed, would that all be in one document is the hope?
Yes,
So all three of these will be captured in the one document?
yes.
Okay, and the timeline that you are hoping as a committee, because you have to have a public.
Correct. So the time frame, if this recommendation is accepted and then would have to go to the council meeting at the end of February. Our next PAC meeting is March the 19th, the night before our combined session. At that meeting of PAC on March 19th, my hope is to have the public meeting dates set at that time. And any framework would also come to our combined session as well, so it would have to go out to the public for review first. So it would come for information purposes only on the 20th.
Okay. Any other questions?
May I add comments?
Yes, sure.
So, you asked about timeline, so,
Mhm.
the process following the public meeting, it is quite lengthy to get to the finish line on this. We would need bylaws in place, and then once the bylaws are, implemented and adopted, there is a 105-day waiting period, I believe.
150, 50,
Uh,
150.
I got my numbers right. But there's quite a lengthy time delay between adoption and it coming into practice, so. We've got something going in the spring, we'll be looking at the fall before it would, come into place.
What bylaw would have to be written?
It would be the land use bylaw.
Oh,
Yeah.
land, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't have to come to the bylaw and policy.
Okay.
No, has to go, yeah, land use bylaw, and it would all be done encompassing of this one framework.
I knew it was lengthy because we had discussed it when I was on the committee.
Mhm.
It was a
So the committee is,
long process.
yeah.
It's not an easy one.
It's not, but the committee is moving very quickly on it. It was our second meeting, and I'm very happy to report that we've got this framework coming at our third meeting of the committee. So we're moving very fast. There's no other questions. I'll make the recommendation, council. I recommend that the Planning Advisory Committee provide a recommendation to council directing staff to draft regulations pertaining to addressing the water supply concerns by limiting development based on the general framework proposed as outlined in the options, and that staff draft the subsequent bylaws and policies as required by the Municipal Government Act.
And I'll second.
Perfect. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We have no bylaw and policies this evening. Any citizen comments?
Nine online. Check. No
No queue.
residents in council chambers.
There's no residents online either.
There's 9 residents
Oh.
online, yes.
Oh. And no Q&As.
No.
I guess we will move on to 12, the mayor report.
I have nothing to report other than spring is coming.
Maybe.
Well, we all hope.
Councilor reports, Councilor Osborne.
Nothing except for, committee meetings are keep going, and I'm looking forward to spring.
Councilor Lubbock.
Thank you. I did attend the municipal code of conduct in-person training session on January 27th. And I attended, of course, last night, the planning advisory committee. Would you pass that on to Mark, please? Okay.
Boards. Nothing from me. So with that, we will need a motion to move into camera.
I'll make that motion that we move into camera at 7:53.
Moved by Councilor Osborne.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed?
We'll sign off on the public portion of the meeting. Any recording and